Every single human culture ever discovered, across every continent and level of technological development, cooks its food. It is the one genuinely universal human behavior, more consistent than language, music, or religion. While every other animal on Earth eats its food raw, humans are the biological exception. We have been cooking for so long that we have become dependent on the technology in a way that no other species is dependent on a tool. Modern chimpanzees must spend roughly half of their waking hours just chewing. Raw wild fruit and fibrous roots are so difficult to process mechanically that a primate's entire day is structured around the basic biological task of grinding down enough material to swallow. Humans who attempt to eat an entirely raw diet consistently suffer a massive caloric deficit. In contemporary studies of raw food enthusiasts, up to 50% of women develop amenorrhea, the cessation of menstruation, because the body lacks the energy to support the metabolic costs of reproduction. From an evolutionary perspective, a raw diet is a path towards extinction for our species. Our bodies have been reshaped over 1 million years into a form that requires processed, heated food to survive. The human brain is a metabolic burden, consuming 20% of our total energy budget while making up only 2% of our body weight. It requires a constant, high-quality energy supply that raw primate food cannot provide. This comparison of a gorilla and human skeleton highlights our dietary constraints. The gorilla has a massive, flared rib cage to house an expansive gut for raw fiber. The human skeleton has a narrow lower torso, reflecting a significantly reduced digestive tract. 2 million years ago, our ancestor, Australopithecus, was approaching a fork in the road. As brains grow larger and more clever, these hominids hit a wall. There simply weren't enough hours in the day to chew the calories required to power that growth. This created a biological paradox. We had an organ that demanded more energy, but a digestive system that was shrinking and becoming less capable of processing raw, low-density forage. A mechanism to increase food efficiency was required to bridge this gap. Evolution could only proceed if our ancestors found a way to extract more energy from their environment with less physical effort. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham proposes that cooking was the engine of this transition. He argues that our ancestors didn't develop big brains and then invent cooking. Rather, they stumbled into cooking, and the resulting dietary shift allowed their brains to grow. By applying fire to food, our ancestors essentially created an external stomach. They used heat to perform the chemical work of breaking down food before it entered their mouths. This process, called gelatinization, occurs when heat causes starch granules in roots and tubers to absorb water and swell. Their rigid crystalline structure breaks down, allowing digestive enzymes to access locked calories. Heat similarly denatures proteins, unraveling complex structures in meat into simpler forms the body attacks efficiently. This biochemical predigestion turns low-yield raw materials into high-yield meals, providing more extractable energy for the body with significantly less metabolic expenditure. Once cooking became routine, natural selection relaxed the pressure to maintain the heavy hardware of a raw food primate. Over generations, the infrastructure for chewing and fermenting fiber began to shrink. This transition is visible in the fossil record of Homo erectus from 1.8 million years ago. This ancestor emerged with a larger brain and a streamlined body, featuring smaller jaws and a significantly shorter digestive tract. These jaw fragments and teeth show a reduction in the surface area required for grinding. Because cooked food is softer and easier to process, the powerful chewing apparatus of earlier hominids was no longer an evolutionary necessity. This chart tracks the reallocation of our metabolic budget. The energy saved by maintaining a smaller gut, a metabolically expensive organ, was redirected to fuel the brain. In modern humans, this reversal is complete. Our brain actually weighs more than our entire digestive tract. We crossed a threshold where the body became irreversibly committed to a high-quality diet. We traded our digestive capacity for cognitive power. The shift to cooked food reduced the time required for eating from 5 hours a day to roughly 1. This change provided up to 5 additional productive hours per day, freeing our ancestors from a schedule dominated by the mechanical processing of raw fiber. Fire became a social anchor. Because food had to be brought back to a hearth to be prepared, the solitary, competitive foraging of other primates was replaced by communal gathering at a specific time and place. Ringham suggests that the practical necessity of guarding the fire and sharing the cooked output gave rise to the household. It created a context where individuals coordinated their labor and shared resources within a stable group. The campfire functioned as the original social institution, organizing solitary foragers into the first human communities. With caloric needs met and predators kept at a distance by the flames, early humans had several hours of safe, non-chewing time before sleep. These evening hours provided the social space for complex communication to flourish. Without the constant interruption of chewing, our ancestors could use this time for storytelling, cross-generational teaching, and planning for the future. This ancient stone hearth at Skara Brae is a reminder of how deep this history goes. Cooking is a technology that predates agriculture, cities, and religion by over 1 million years. When you turn on a stove or ignite a grill, you are participating in the act that defined our lineage. You are using the same tool that reorganized the primate body and fueled the development of the human mind. We are the cooking ape, the only organism in the history of the earth that genuinely cannot feed itself without a tool.